And good afternoon, everyone. I'm Leah Secondo, and so glad you could join us on the Longstreth post-game show as the U.S. squad has fallen 4-1 to Argentina. Our show will run consecutively following each United States match, about 30 minutes following each match here on YouTube, and we are so glad to be joining with Longstreth, obviously one of the longest named companies in the sport of field hockey. Our show roughly again 30 minutes long. However, we may go longer because we have some great guests joining us throughout the week as the U.S. chases gold. Today we have three coaches. We will also have players from time to time. And the three coaches joining us today, first, our very first coach is Allie Johnston. And Allie, the head coach at Ohio, where she was a former All-American there. And we're so glad you could join us today, Allie.
Thank you for having me.
Also joining us along the way, Coach Bean. And Coach Bean has been a long name associated with the sport of field hockey as well. We have kind of the Canadian connection joining us today. Coach Bean, thank you so much for being a part of our show. Eighth season starting off at VCU, and you hold the highest winning percentage by any coach in program history. So thank you so much as well for joining us today on the show.
Thank you.
And our third guest today, Scott Tupper, the associate head coach at the University of Maryland. There's Scott, also a longtime member, a three-time Olympian as well. And Scott, we appreciate your time as well as your insight, obviously, with your days being a tough backline player for the Canadian squad as well.
Thanks, Leah. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. So, the U.S. squad falls 4-1, game number one of pool play B, the first day. But overall, I think we would all agree that we saw improvement as the game progressed because Argentina came out and they dominated that first quarter from the onset.
Yeah. I'd say that the American girls were sitting back a little bit and maybe allowed Argentina to play early in the game. And I think later on, maybe they pushed out a bit in the press, and which might be for me a little bit more of the U.S. hockey culture and what they're comfortable with. But maybe they're a little bit wary of how the game was going to start. But I think they got into it, and maybe the scoreline's not what they wanted initially, but there were certainly patches of good play and some positives to take out of it.
Yeah,
Ellie,
I
you're
agree.
agreeing?
Yeah, I agree. I think that third quarter in particular, you just saw the potential in the U.S. squad just with how much ball pressure that they were able to get on Argentina, and and that what that ball pressure led to, and the opportunities that came out of that, and once we did that and started playing through the midfield a little bit more instead of bypassing the midfield, I think it was a completely different game, and some really good momentum to the next match for sure.
Yeah, I really liked
Ellie?
how they came out in the second half there after coming back in the third corner, like Bean said. Yeah, they didn't hold back, and you could see that in the fourth quarter as well. They kept pushing really hard. Yeah, we had chatted a little bit in the game about how far Argentina can send those aerials. So figuring out in that first half, honestly, like, how to put pressure on, how to press, and acknowledging the fact that Argentina can actually chuck it pretty far, and we saw a really good deal of that.
Absolutely. And it was actually that first goal that was set up by Gorzolani, about 55 yards, right, on that diagonal. Their pinpoint passing that led to that very first goal by the Argentinians in the second quarter. The U.S. squad, would any of you say were they timid to try to exploit the middle of the field, the spine of the field? Would you like to have seen them try to work the ball a little bit different way out of the back to the front to get to the ball more in the forefront of the field?
I think for me, I saw more of them using the midfield. They mixed it up a little bit better in the second half, which again led to some of those chances that we all wish we would have put a few more of those away, but that's okay. At least we had. I did not see that same linking and mixing it up. It's one thing to look long, but you still have to, as we say, have the ability and the wherewithal to play short when necessary. And I didn't see that enough in the first half, mixing that up. And maybe that was part of the game plan, but I did see that adjustment in the second half, which is really, really something for us to build on. Incredible to see momentum wise going into that next game.
Yeah, and like one thing as well, and you can try and pretend it's another game, but it's the first true world level event for almost every girl on the team. I think a few of them played the World Cup in 2018, or maybe just a couple. And there can be nerves there. You don't want to put the ball into a dangerous area, especially like in a hotspot kind of pocket area where a team like Argentina, typically men's or women's, are really good at stealing and can counter really dangerously. And maybe they could have been a little bit hesitant to play it into those potential turnover areas, and we're more content to keep it on the outside, or if they're going to lose the ball, it's over the opponent's back line. But yeah, like what being said, some of the players that are in the midfield that can, if they can start to be able to receive and connect within that sort of space of the field, or be able to turn up field and kind of find the strikers and create a little bit more connection in the attack, it could be really positive. And hopefully we'll see the girls against Spain have a little bit more of that connection and fluidity in their play in the build-up.
Mm-hmm. When we were chatting in game, and I always like to ask the college coaches, once we get the season going, right? Because everybody's just trying to work through those first kinks the first month and a half of the season, but what the percentage you like to see. And Allie, you said to me, well, shots on goal or a goal off of a corner. US today, 0 for 6. Argentina wasn't much better. They were 1 for 6. What really is Coach Passmore's expectation of a completion of a goal in this type of a tournament play?
Well, I'm not sure what his stats are, but yeah, we were talking, for us, like 20%. But yeah, are you satisfied with getting it on target, or is, completing it and ending it with a goal? Obviously, they're aiming to score every single time. That the Argentinian keeper made some really great saves on their drag flicks, but being able to just push in that fourth quarter, getting all those corners in the end there. And I mean, they didn't hold back at all. Everything was on target. So, there's obviously more hope once it's on target, but the ability in that stage and game one to have everything on target and, half a centimeter here and there. And that's a different ball game for the US. And that's incredible.
Absolutely. Constantino with 9 saves on the day, and her counterpart, Kelsey Bing, Kelsey's come such a long way from the start of her career at Stanford. 3 saves. That last goal was just a beauty by Zoe Diaz. It would have been difficult for anybody to make that save. Coming up over the top, Zoe did a nice job to control that ball and redirect it. But some of your thoughts on Kelsey's development, Scott, we'll start with you. And just, fighting off this attack, and the defense in front of Kelsey did a super job today as well.
Yeah, like there was a couple of the goals maybe have been stuff that they'll talk about and maybe little breakdowns that they had. But I think, like, for me, having kind of been in the U.S. since about 2000, I missed the early bit of Kelsey's international. I was very aware of her and who she was and seen her play, but I certainly have a more focused eye on the U.S. team now. And look, I think she's world class, and I think you generally have to take a really good shot or have a really good attempt to beat her if she's positioned and if she's set for it. And I think you saw that first goal, like it was not her job to cover that player that ended up scoring, and that's a really tough one for her to make when the ball comes across and you have an open player like that. The ball that was tipped out of the air, like it was a pretty wonderful touch and a little bit of a fluke play in terms of how it ended up where it was for the girl to get her stick on it. And like she may want that Gorzolani flick back. I think she might have expected it to be a little bit closer to the post, and she started to step and then kind of jammed herself up a little bit. But ultimately, I think more often than not, when the U.S. steps on the field, they feel like they probably have an advantage in goal. And I think for any team, especially a team that's coming into a tournament like this, an underdog probably more often than the favorite, that's a really good thing to have. And it's a super thing to build the rest of your game on, moving out both with the ball and without.
Allie or Bean, you want to elaborate anything else on what Scott had just said on that?
Yeah, I think you just see, to use a phrase from another sport, I think you just see Kelsey and her development just being an absolute quarterback. She is the quarterback of the defense. She is, the Mike linebacker, whatever you want to call it. She is an absolute boss. She sets the chess pieces, and as Scott alluded to, there were a couple of moments where those chess pieces were just a little late, a split second late in terms of moving into position, and that ended up leading to a couple of those goals. But those are correctable errors, and but Kelsey has just really developed into, yes, she's an outstanding technician, but her tactical ability, knowledge, everything is just amped up over the last few years. It's been really cool to see.
Well, we are going to take a brief time out here. We have to pay some bills. And when we come back on the flip side, we'll get a little bit more in depth about the U.S.'s first loss today at the 2024 Olympics against Argentina, 4-1. But welcome back to the post-game show, Longstreth post-game show. So glad you could join us this afternoon following the U.S.'s 4-1 loss to Argentina. Coach Bing, Coach Tupper, and Coach Johnston on our inaugural broadcast for Longstreth. We're so glad you could be with us today. And Coach Bing and Coach Johnson and Coach Tupper, you were telling me during the game that you've watched the development of quite a few of these players, and one name that consistently came up throughout the broadcast, even by the broadcasters, was Maddies Zimmer and her development and the importance of Maddie. She was all over the field today, much as we've seen her in her collegiate career, whether it's trying to break up a play or develop something in the circle. And some of your thoughts on Maddie's play and the importance of Maddie Zimmer in dispersing the ball for this U.S. squad.
Oh, Maddie is lethal. It is really fun to watch Maddie play. She's incredibly skilled on the ball. She's very powerful. I mean, I think she had the first shot in the game, maybe in the first or second quarter there. And that's from her ability to drive from the midfield along that baseline and just make chicken soup out of chicken poop. She's, she is handy, but incredibly powerful. And you watch her eyes are up the whole way. So she's able to also distribute that ball, just incredibly well. And it's so fun to watch her play.
Yeah, I think, having worked with her a little bit way back when she's a U16, I'm dating myself right now, but she, the development on the defensive side of the ball for her has just been unbelievable to watch. She's always, in my mind, been a really exciting attacking player. But she now is a whole hockey player. And that is really, really, kudos to her, and really cool to see that piece of her development. And she's just so dangerous because she, you think she's running fast, and then she's got another gear.
Right.
With the ball, not just without it. And that, you can't teach that, right? And she has the confidence to use that, and she's developed tactically. Again, that's another example of just that tactical development in the U.S. system, that she's just, whole new level to her game in that respect. So she's really kind of yo-yos the speed a little bit, and just when she turns on those afterburners, good luck.
Yeah, I think however you define it, I think if she's not there, she's pretty darn close to world class now, and certainly on the ball. And I think she's a really fast player, but her hands match it now. And the way she's, I think, as Bean said, she can kind of put it in third gear and then sort of lift it from there really quickly and get you with those eliminations. And she wrong foots, she'll drive at the inside shoulder of her defender and get them just to twist their hips a little bit, and then she's burned them past their left foot. And whether you put her, I would think if I was David, you have to make the decision. Do you want to have her further up the field in midfield, so you're getting those eliminations and stuff kind of as you're entering the attacking area and maybe getting into the circle like we saw with that backhand she played on goal? Or do you need her an outlet at times where you can put her a little bit more in a back line and she's able to eliminate a forward and kind of get you out of stuff? So it's a really, really nice weapon to have. And we even talked during the game on the goal the Americans scored. She looked like she had the ball land for her and she was about to maybe hit the backhand, but then just the wherewithal to recognize she probably didn't have the time to let it off, and she just jinked it onto Ash, and Ash was able to finish. But that sort of savviness to recognize what skills necessary, I think a lot of us, myself included, we would see the ball there and be like, here's my time, I'm going to rip it. But just to stop short, bring it down, and just play it forward was really, really good circle awareness from someone who's probably more typically recently being a midfielder or at times a defender, which, yeah, it was really great play.
The U.S. squad has a day off here now, and it's difficult. This whole week is different, right? For as much as you plan for it, practices are different. It's not like you're getting out on the pitch for 2 hours and practicing. Scott, from your experience with Team Canada, just kind of take our viewers through that week and how it's just a little bit different. It's not like you can go out there and work on things on your day off like you normally would if you were back at your college field.
Yes, certainly. And I actually don't know how far there's certain little, like, even logistical things that are a little bit different. Like, how long does it take you to get from Athletes Village in your building to your training venue or anything like that? That kind of plays into, okay, are we going to the field? How long are we going for? You might have players that are a little nicked up that it's better off they're resting and rehabbing. I think they'll be pretty diligent with nutrition and everything tonight to make sure they do kind of get I would say that, yeah, the nutrition and then the really good sleep to help you recover. But they'll probably have a few things they work on, and certainly the video crew will be working overtime to make sure that the correctable things that maybe went a little bit wrong today, that they can assess where they could have been a little bit better and hopefully put a better foot forward against Spain.
Right. So it's more so in this type of a venue, it's more so video work than actually being able to get out on the field and kind of tactically do it, correct? Because there's time restraints for field use, correct?
Yeah, typically your training sessions aren't going to be too long. That'll be kind of decided by the tournament and the tournament directors most often. But I think just in terms of when you have this many games in a relatively short span, you don't want to spend too much time on your feet and moving around, and try to preserve a little bit for the games. And you can learn a lot from video. They might look at some stuff perhaps in the morning and then just walk it through. I would guess it's not a kind of full gas training session, if you will, but just walk through some positional stuff perhaps. And then obviously some sort of just flush out the legs. They'll probably get moving a little bit, but certainly I think everything will be focused on kind of where are the corrections we can make. What did we do well? I always think it's super important to make sure, unless everything's gone really haywire, you've probably done some things well in every game. And then just make sure you're really ready to give it a rip the following day.
All right. We're going to take one more break here on the Longstreth post-game show. We come back, we'll preview ahead to the U.S.'s match on Monday against Spain and wrap this one up with a bow tie as the United States looks to chase gold here at the 2024 Paris Olympics. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Longstreth post-game show. Leah Secondo and a bevy of coaching guests today as we start off day number 1, along with the U.S. squad, suffering a 4-1 defeat against Argentina. Coach Bing, Coach Johnston, and Coach Tupper joining us, providing us insight and analysis as we break down this one for the U.S. squad. Coach's day off, as we mentioned going into the break. thinking ahead now to Spain and what they present to the U.S. squad. Coach Beam, we'll start with you first.
Put the old lady on the hot seat. I see. Well, I mean, I think Spain, similar to Argentina, they like to play with a little flair, so to speak. It's in their culture. So I think this game against Argentina really prepares us well for that. I'm not quite familiar with Spain's corners. I couldn't speak to that at all. I do think you'll probably see some variation from us in terms of our corner attack against Spain. I'm sure those are a couple of things we'll address, with the video like we were talking about prior to this break. I think if U.S. focuses on what they want to do well, and which is quality ball pressure and really combining and linking through the lines, I think we'll have some more streams of success.
Coach Johnson?
Yeah, I think actually it'd be a pretty good matchup. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Spain, didn't they just jump into the Pro League?
Mm-hmm.
And US just missing out like narrowly for staying in the Pro League. So they're kind of neck and neck, on the world stage. I haven't seen Spain besides, getting into the Pro League, but I think the growth of the US has been so incredibly quick under Passmore, and every game they're just getting way more confident. And I think after playing this game against Argentina, a couple tweaks here and there, honestly, it's gonna be a really good match, I think.
Coach Tupper, Spain certainly at number 7, possibly one of the more improved teams. They lost back in 2020 after tying Great Britain 2-2, making it to losing in the quarterfinals. Some of your thoughts on Spain?
Yeah, I'd say the last 10 years, the Spanish women's team has really elevated. Their previous coach, Adrian Locke, did really, really good work with them. I think they came 3rd in the 2018 World Cup. And they've kind of maintained as one of those teams that can, maybe they're not always in the semifinal of the biggest tournaments, but they can kind of threaten any team in the world. And right. I think there's a similarity to Argentina where they do have, like Bean said, some of that flair and that technical ability, but I think they have a touch more of the European structure. And I think they play the game quite smart. And the other thing I was just also going to mention is Bean touched on corners. I was wondering at the end of the game there, as while it would have been nice for the girls to get another goal, were they holding something back, knowing that you maybe keep shooting and not give up? They could have 2 or 3 options that they're really comfortable with, but you don't want to use those to take a 4-1 loss to 4-2, though the goal may help you later on. But if it can win you a game that you're tied against a Spain or someone like that, they may have a couple tricks up their sleeve that they felt, okay, maybe don't bring it out now, and perhaps we'll see some options rather than just the straight flick. And the kind of game within the game of the penalty corner could be exciting to watch in the future matches.
Mm-hmm. Allie?
Yeah, well, honestly, what Scott just said about holding back, we were all kind of chatting about that. Is it going to be another straight drag, but getting it on target? And that's the fun about our sport is, are you holding? It's not like you're holding back. You're still trying to win and score goals, but are you keeping your options limited so that you're not giving away too much for the next match? I think that's a really good point, Scott.
Mm-hmm. Allie, you've spent a lot of time with Tracy Fuchs in your coaching regime as well, and some of what Tracy has passed along to you, coaching technique, and I'm sure you were thinking, gee, what's Tracy saying now to these guys as different things were developing on the field. Any particular moment in the match where you had a Tracy Fuchs moment about what she might be spewing to the players on the field?
She is a tactical genius herself, so she's very good at just sticking to the game plan. And if they're getting, if anyone's frustrated or if their energy or emotions are maybe askew a little bit. She's just so good at just breaking it down and saying, this is our game plan. This is our aim. This is what we're going to do. Just focus on what we've been doing. And yeah, just bringing them back down to like earth and reality, because she's brilliant. So we'll just give them a little piece of advice or a little piece of tactic to let them know how good they actually are. And then she'll just say it in a way that simplifies it and makes them feel confident getting back out there.
Coach Bean, Ashley Sessa's goal, we haven't talked about it in depth today. Definitely a bright spot. There were many different bright spots on the field. Doesn't always have to come with the finish of a goal, but you recognized a couple of different things as that goal developed for Ashley and putting herself in position.
Yeah, I think overall, if you go back and watch a replay of that goal, a couple of things jump out right away. It's the discipline of the U.S. side to get numbers into the circle, but then to get them in the correct places. So that discipline, on Maddie's part, not to overrun the play. She held where she should and got the ball. And then the discipline on everybody else's part to get where they were supposed to be. Sessa, again, she was the benefit of the next level of discipline from Zimmer in terms of, hey, instead of just letting it rip on my reverse when it's probably not going anywhere good, I'm just going to drop it off to my teammate who's where she's supposed to be. And so there's that level of discipline to get the numbers in the circle, but to get the numbers where they were supposed to be. And then Zimmer doing what she did and just trusting her teammate. And I think, that's something great to build on moving forward, just that kind of that trust and that discipline. And there's more of that to come from with the U.S. side for sure.
Coach Tupper, there was only one other women's match today, and kind of no surprise on this final score on this one, the Netherlands 6-2 over host France out of Pool A. Some of your thoughts on obviously the Netherlands being in Pool A, and as well as what the U.S. is thinking about in Pool B. What's your mentality? Just get out of the pool, be one of the top four, and let's go at it for the crossover. What are they thinking right now as they prepare for Spain and the process forward here?
Yeah, I think certainly in women's hockey, I think the whole world is chasing the Dutch women. I saw something today. Someone's like, it's not spoken about enough, but this is the most dominant team in world sport. Like you might talk about the All Blacks or certain other teams in other sports, whether it's leagues or international, but I don't know if anyone has had the run that the Dutch women have had. And they're just they're so dangerous on so many fronts. Like they won 6-2 today against the French, and Yibi Jansen had 4 goals, and she put them on all different parts of the goal, and she's flicking it harder than probably anyone else in the world. But I mean, if they're not earning corners, it's very likely Josia Berg or Frederic Matla are creating fantastic field play opportunities. And it's a super talented team. And if anyone's going to trip them up, it'll take quite the effort. So fortunately, I would say for the US, they don't have to worry about that in the pool play. And if they end up playing the Dutch, then good things have happened. It means they've moved on out of the pool, and that's would be something you're really happy to have to worry about. I was speaking to my colleagues last week, and we were just talking about the lineup of the games for the girls. I think playing Argentina first was fantastic, because if I was drawing up the pool, it would have been really nice to get points out of that game, but it wasn't a must get. And you kind of get the first game jitters out of the way and all that sort of stuff. I wouldn't have wanted to play, say, a South Africa first, where that's probably a game they're eyeing that you have to win if you advance. And I think there's gettable points in every game left in the pool. I think certainly Spain and Australia are quite strong, but with a really good performance and maybe some really good goaltending, a couple opportunistic goals, there's a result available. And I would really look at SA and GB as the teams that probably they wouldn't say it publicly, but if I was coaching the American team, those are the teams you're looking at. Like, we can win these games, and that would give us the opportunity to advance and play for medals.
There were viewing parties across the United States today, including at Longstreth at their retail store. And close to 100 people cheering the team on. Here's a
Awesome.
couple of different shots that they were able to take for us during the fantastic presentation that they had for the young student athletes, just trying to grow the game. And for Longstreth and other different organizations and companies along the way, and you guys have all been involved in it too, right? Just trying to do whatever possible to grow the game. And what USA Hockey has done, Coach Bean, I think, or Coach Johnson, one of you had mentioned it during the broadcast, the move to bring USA Field Hockey and the Olympic squad to Charlotte to train and bring everything in a cohesive place, and then trickle that down to the U18s and the 16s. How have you seen the changeover in the last 2 years with the squad transcend into the team on the field?
Allie, you want to start, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I mean, centralization is a huge. I mean, obviously, I came from Canada, and Tupper are just geographically massive, the U.S. and Canada. So having a space to train is a huge bonus. But I had the pleasure with working with Bean with under 18 squad, and one of our sessions, the senior players came and they were like our assistant coaches. So here we have, I'm playing a defensive drill, and I have Leah Krause and Maddie Zimmer hanging out with these under 18s, and their little eyeballs are just, they're just glossed over. And, Brooke Deberdine comes in and starts cheering for them, and she took the attacking players. So then they had this little battle with Brooke, taking the attack, and then I just let them run. And it was just so fun to see their connection and the players just looking up to them. Like they're trained at that time, I think, Being, tell me if I'm wrong, they were training for the qualifier. So I don't know if they hadn't even qualified yet. So
no, they hadn't qualified yet. Yep.
Yeah. So it was just, the opportunity for them to be around the senior players and watch them train and see what it takes to play at that next level is so inspiring. And it was really cool to see the seniors kind of talk to them about their path and what it took for them, like in the pathway, out of the pathway, back in. It was, that's an experience you'll never forget for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was really cool. As a coach, I love to see athletes grow, not just in their game, but in their ability to speak and hold the room. And to see some of those senior athletes who I was fortunate enough to coach way back when, just really being able to hold the room in the palm of their hand and being just so comfortable and confident in their own skin. And that for me was pretty cool to watch. I love seeing the confidence in them as young women, and I love to see that they really take seriously. And I think it was maybe yesterday or the day before, USA Field Hockey put out an article about just, basically trying to, who it was that inspired. I can't remember who it was in. I think Krause and somebody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sessa maybe.
Yeah.
And just who it was that inspired them. And then, Longstreth or USA Field Hockey had reached out to a couple of the old guard and talk to them about, the importance of that legacy, and pretty cool to see now our current players just really, it's grown over the years, and they saw what it meant to them in their career, and now it's on them to continue that, and they're just embracing it. Really, really cool stuff.
Ashley Hoffman talking about how she was in her mom's tummy when her mom was out coaching the high school squad, and of course her mom a member of the squad back in '84. So you're right, it's generations of the sport, and certainly the young ladies on the stage. And I think it was actually something I read earlier this morning from Ashley. She talked about, I hope I'm always referred to as an Olympian. Because I'm just so proud. She is an Olympian, period. She will always be an Olympian and representing our country in such a great fashion. Coaches, any final thoughts from any of you as we wrap this one up?
Not much. Just Thanks for having me. Looking forward to watching the
Absolutely.
girls play and get some good results. And I hope we get a little bit more than just this 5 games. I want to watch a lot of hockey in the next couple of weeks.
Well, absolutely. And if that happens, we want you back because there will at least be a few more games. And you guys, as the inaugural class, we're going to be referring back to you as this progresses along. Allie and Bean, any final thoughts?
No, it's been really fun to actually hang out with all of you and watch that game with this crew right here. And yeah, I mean, watching, personally watching Tracy on the sideline and what she has done for U.S. field hockey and all the hours and minutes and years and days that she has put into her craft, and to see her, on the sideline of the Olympics is it's just super special.
Absolutely. Coach Bean?
Yeah, I would echo the thoughts of my cohorts here, but just really excited just with the path that the U.S. is on right now. And, I think we have it right in terms of who we have coaching this team, in terms of the staff overall. It's just a fantastic mix. And, David, Javi, Tracy, I could go on down the line, but it is really, really, we are in very good hands. And I can't wait to buckle up and watch the ride.
Absolutely. Well, I certainly thank you all for your time as we look ahead here now. For the U.S. squad, they will be taking on Spain. That will be coming up on Monday. The broadcast on that one starts at 7:15 in the morning. 7:15 in the morning. We will be on with you roughly 30 minutes again following the end of the broadcast on that one. And we will go as long as we want. We will have special guest coaches and players along the way. We want to remind you, please tell your friends to like and subscribe to the YouTube page for Longstreth. It is certainly important to all of us, and it's important to you as we grow the game. And again, as the U.S. chases gold here at the Summer Games 2024. So thank you so much for joining us on our inaugural broadcast. We appreciate you all so much, and we'll see you next time, Monday morning, 30 minutes following the end of the U.S.'s matches against Spain. Make it a great rest of your day, and we'll see you on Monday.